Welcome to Crafts with Ash DIY and Decor. My name's Ashley, and today I am so excited to be participating in a collab with Liz Moore Decal and Decor. If you don't know who she is an amazing DIYer, and I'm going to talk more about her in just a little bit. But first, if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, then hit that little notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Also, go down to the drop down menu and click all so you're notified about all notifications. Then join me on Instagram and Facebook to join my crafting community. Sometimes I post behind the scene content I know you're not going to want to miss. So today, Liz and I are going to bring you some great fall DIYs. Now, something fun about this video is that Liz is a very experienced Cricut user. And because of her and many of my other DIY influencers, I have decided to purchase a Cricut myself. If you've been following me for a while, you know I never had one. So in this video, I'm going to take you through how I made my very first Cricut project to show you that you can do it too. And let me tell you, I am sitting here thinking, why did I not do this earlier? I was intimidated for no reason. But first, let's get to a DIY that doesn't require the Cricut at all. For this first DIY, I'm going to use these wood planks that I got from the Dollar Tree, and they have a little pumpkin cutout at the top. Now, if you missed my Dollar Tree fall haul video, I will have it linked in the description box below, but you're definitely going to want to check it out to see what other brand new items I found this year for the fall season. After I removed the hangers from each one of my boards, I used one of the boards to measure the top, the cutout part of the other one. We need each one of our pieces to be the same height, so you need to make sure that you measure against each other. Then after that, I took a knife and I'm just going to score it multiple times on my line and bend it back and forth until I'm able to snap it. Now, I did go ahead and use a ruler to make sure that I was cutting a straight line. After I broke it in two pieces, I took my sanding block and I sanded each one down to make sure the ends were nice and smooth. After that, I took my other long wooden plank and I used the part that I cut off at the top to measure the top of that one. Now, the reason why I have it upside down is because I know that's a straight line, so I wanted to go ahead and trace that. Then I did the same thing and just scored it with my knife multiple times until I was able to break that one off as well. After I broke it apart, I cleaned up my edges, and again I took my sanding block and sanded both of them down. Next, it was time to put this all together. So what I did was I laid one of the longer pieces down, and then by using wood glue and hot glue, I glued the shorter piece along the side of the longer piece. Now, we're making a box, so you need to make sure to glue this little piece, the cutout piece, on its side so that the pumpkin is sideways and not straight up and down. I'm just deciding to put it all together on its side, which you'll see here. So after I do that side, I move to the other and I do the same thing. I use a combination of wood glue and hot glue to glue my sides down. Now I did have to hold each side down after applying the glue. That way it had time to set up and I would hold it in place. After both of my sides were glued, I just took my wood glue and ran a bead through the corner to go ahead and give it extra support. Then I used my finger to push it into the little grooves or any little gaps that there may have been. Next, I applied wood glue and hot glue on the top of those little pieces, and then I'm going to put that second long board on the top. Now you want to make sure that all of your edges and sides are all lined up and flush with each other. And again, you're going to have to hold this down until the glue sets up. To give my box even more support, I decided to glue these little wooden blocks on the inside of my boards. Now you can see that the top long board is bowed. It is curving outward, so I do something about that in just a little bit, and putting these blocks on do help a little, but I am gonna have to end up adding a bottom. But to do these blocks, I just glued one down to the top, one down to the bottom in every corner of my box. Now I do find that it is easier to flip my box on its side like that and start gluing all of the pieces, but of course you couldn't see it from that angle, so I went ahead and glued all my pieces. After that, I wanted to darken this box just a little bit. Personally, I'm not a fan of light wood. I like darker wood. So I just took my Waverly Antique Wax and a chippy brush, and I'm just going to dry brush that all over all the sides of my box. Now you do want to make sure to follow the pattern of the wood grain. So I'm going back and forth on this side, but on the sides, the smaller sides, I'll be going up and down because that's the way the wood grain is going. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to my YouTube channel. If you're new, thank you so much for choosing to stop by. And also, if you're coming over from Liz's channel, welcome, and I really hope that you love what you see today. If you're returning, thank you so much for all of your support. I've really been loving getting to all these DIYs and sharing them all with you. And stay tuned because fall and Halloween and Christmas are, of course, my favorites, so there's going to be a lot of content coming your way. Okay, so to fix the problem with the bowing board, I'm going to add a bottom. So I took some leftover foam board that I had from a different DIY, and I'm tracing my box on top of that, and then I'm going to use my knife to cut it out. Now, as you saw, it did not cover the whole bottom, so I do end up having to piece a few of the pieces of foam board together, but that's okay because you're not going to see it, and the inside is going to be all filled anyways, so it doesn't have to look pretty, it just has to get the job done. Now, the trick to doing this is I had to hold the bowing piece tight to, you can see I'm really pushing it to make sure that it stops being bowed and that I'm gluing it as straight as possible. One way to avoid this is just to not use a board that is bowed. So if you do this project, just try to make sure to pick up 2 straight boards. I did not realize that when I bought them, or else I would have gotten a straight one. But, you know, this is just a good way to show you how you can fix things like this. And it was pretty easy to fix. I just had to make sure that I pushed it the side that was bowed very hard onto the foam board. That way it would glue straight onto the foam board, if that makes sense. So all I did was stick the foam board on the bottom, and this box is flipped upside down. So, and then I just ran a bead of hot glue, and then I'm going to push it push it down really hard. Now, I apologize about my angle. I did not realize I was a little cut off here, but that's basically all I did. I did it on both sides, and then you're going to see that I do take some little pieces of foam board and cover the rest of the bottom, and that's basically it. I'm just adding a ton of glue to make sure that my bottom stays in place. Next, I took this little stencil that I got from Dollar General, and I cut out the word that I wanted to use, and then I poked out all of the little pieces that don't belong. And then by using some painter's tape, I did tape it down in the bottom right-hand corner of my box. Now, the last time I used these stencils from Dollar General, they bled. So because I was nervous to do that again, what I did was traced them on with a pencil, and then I colored them in with a black Sharpie marker, and that worked really well. I was just afraid to use my paint again because there would be no way to fix that besides painting the entire box, and I did not want to do that. So I just took the safe route and traced and colored it in. Next, I decided to lightly sand over my word so that way the color wasn't such a bold black. It kind of dulled it down a little bit. After that, it was time to add some handles. So I took this nautical rope that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I tied a knot on one end of the rope, and there are already holes on the sides of the board because this was supposed to hang. So I'm just using those holes as a guide to where I want to glue my knots. So what I did was I made one knot, and then I glued it down over that hole, and then I decided how long I wanted my handle to be, and I made another knot to glue on the other hole and then cut off the excess rope. Now you do want to make sure to put a generous amount of hot glue or even a super glue like E6000 or that super glue from the Dollar Tree. That way it gives these handles an extra hold. After I got one side glued down, I took another piece of rope and I tied a knot on one end, and then I compared it to the handle I already had glued on, and then tied another knot and did the same thing and glued it to the other end of my box. Now that my box was built and ready to go, it was time to fill it. So I took these 3 mason jars that I already had on hand, and I was going to start putting florals in it, and then I decided that they needed to be raised up a little bit. So I took these wood pieces from the Crafter Square section to use as risers. Next, I did put some foam around, but it really wasn't to use as foam. It was just basically to fill empty spots. And next, I'm going to take some extra Dollar Tree bags, and we all know I have a ton of those, and I'm just going to fill in the spots around the jars so I don't have to use as many floral pieces. After that, it was time to start filling this in with florals. Now to do this, all I did was just pop the flowers or the leaves or whatever I'm using off of the stems. I didn't use any wire cutters or anything. I just popped them off and then I arranged them how I liked. Now this did take a little while for me to do, so we're just going to speed that right up. Then in the jars itself, I am going to put little fake tea lights, the battery operated ones from the Dollar Tree. And now I have a super cute fall centerpiece that my mom is actually going to put on her dining room table. Now the neat thing is because this says blessed, you could really fill this all season long with the seasonal florals. So you could do sunflowers, you can do poinsettias or kind of Christmassy florals, you can do spring ones, summer, anything that you love. And I absolutely love how this box came out. It was super easy to make, and I love that I got to use 2 of the new wood planks from the Dollar Tree. What do you think? So like I stated earlier, today's video is in collab with Liz Moore Decal and Decor. She is so talented. I absolutely love watching her videos, and she posts a ton of great ideas and inspiration. She even has her whole own line of wood tiered tray decor in like every theme you can think of, and you know me, I love tiered trays and tiered tray decor, so that is right up my alley. I will have the link to her video posted down below, so please make sure to check out her DIYs after watching mine, and if you go over from my channel, make sure to tell her in the comments that I sent you. Okay, so next I'm going to show you 2 projects that I made with my Cricut, and here is the very first project I ever made.
Here it is, my first Cricut project, my first Cricut cut. Sorry about the dog. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Eek. Oh my gosh, you can see the cuts. That is so neat. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I own one of these. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so cute. Hopefully I did all my measuring right. That was the one thing that really overwhelmed me about thinking about getting a Cricut, is that I'm really bad at measuring. So, but you know what? This will teach me to learn. This will help me learn. Ooh, it's done. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Eek. Okay, now I gotta figure out what to do next. Okay, second cut. We are doing some leaves for my project. And this vinyl actually came with the Cricut, so it was gold, so I thought, you know, that'd be so pretty for fall. That's done. Yay.
So obviously this is not going to be a tutorial on how to use a Cricut. You just saw me cut my very first cut, and so I am in no position to try to teach anyone how to design or cut or anything, because I am learning myself. But that's why people like Liz Moore or Whitney over at Whiskey and Wit or Natalie at Design to the Nines, they can teach you how to use a Cricut because they have been doing it for a while. So I am a newbie, so this, like I said, is not a tutorial. Cricut is not sponsoring this or anything, but I just wanted to give you a look into how it works for a newbie so you can see that it's not as intimidating as one might think. And like I said, I am sitting here wondering why I did not do this sooner. So after I had everything cut out, I took my weeding tool and started weeding out the inner pieces that didn't need to be there. Then I took some of my transfer vinyl and I put a piece on top of that and used my little scraper to brandish the words on top of my transfer tape. After that, I put my Fall Sweet Fall decal in the middle of this really cute wooden charger. Now, I got this wooden charger from Michael's after season, so it was like a couple bucks, but I do know that Dollar Tree sells ones just like it. After that, I laid out all of these little leaves around my Fall Sweet Fall decal just to kind of see where I want them to be positioned. Then once I was confident in where they were, I started taking them off with my transfer tape and I put them on. Now at first I started using my transfer vinyl, but then I realized that I could literally just peel this off of each sheet like a sticker and then just add them on. So you'll see me switch. And then that way I didn't really have to waste my transfer paper either. So as you can see, this is super easy to put together. I just started taking the leaves off and putting them on around my wording, and you can see that I kind of peeled a few up and moved them around, so I'm not pushing them down all the way, just like I would with regular stickers before I got my Cricut. And if you don't have a Cricut, you can do what I did and just use stencils or stickers or rub on transfers, or you can even print things off of your computer and Mod Podge them on. You could even use window decals. There are so many other options if you don't have a Cricut. So after I got all of my decals put on my plate, I wanted to distress this a little bit to give it more of a rustic look. So I dry brushed some of my white Waverly chalk paint over my plate. Now, again, I wanted to go in the direction of the wood grain, and you can see I started off going the wrong way and then I started going up and down. And I did distress over my words as well. That way it gave that an antique look too. Then to bring in that darker color, I took my Waverly Antique Wax and I dry brushed that over my charger as well. After that, this plate is complete. I thought that this turned out super neat. You can put a hanger on the back and hang it up, but I'm just going to use one of those plate holders that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to display it. Now, I did go ahead and put some Mod Podge over the leaves and the words. Now, typically I don't think with Cricut you have to, but being my first time, I just wanted to be 100% sure that these were going to stay down, so I decided to go ahead and give it that extra hold. But I absolutely love how this came out. I think I did pretty good for my first Cricut project. But you tell me, what do you think? For my last DIY, I'm going to use this mini cutting board that I got from Michael's. Now, it was on sale for like 70% off, so I got a great deal. Now, because the front of it is actually like wood burned in and raised, I was not able to just paint over it. So I flipped it around to the back, and the first thing I'm going to do is take a baby wipe and dip that in some Waverly Antique Wax and use that to faux stain the back and the sides of my cutting board. Next, I took my chippy brush and I dipped it in some ivory chalk paint, and I'm going to dry brush that all over my cutting board. Then, to blend everything all together, I took my sanding sponge and sanded my cutting board down really well. After that, I took 4 regular size craft sticks, and I'm lining it up because I want to make a little board in the middle. So after I had them all lined up how I liked, I went ahead and took a smaller craft stick, and I'm going to hot glue that across the big ones to help them all attach together. Now, I did start off with 4 craft sticks, but you're going to see that I actually add a 5th one because I wanted it to be just a little bit wider. But before I realized I wanted to do that, I just used that other craft stick to draw a straight line, and then I used my scissors to cut off the rounded parts. This is your friendly reminder to please give this video a thumbs up. Not only does it really help my channel to grow, but it also tells YouTube that you're loving my content and that you want to see more. So hit that like button for even more DIY inspiration. After I had the ends cut down on one side, I flipped it over and did the same thing on the other. Basically, I'm just cutting this down so all of the rounded edges were cut off. Next, I took my sanding block and I'm going to sand all of the edges so they're nice and smooth. Next, I took my Waverly Antique Wax again and my chippy brush, and I just dry brushed that on that little board that I made. Now, I wanted the natural wood to come through as well, so that's why I didn't really go heavy on the Waverly Wax, but I just wanted a little bit of dimension and distressing. Then to help it all blend in, I went ahead and sanded it down. Now before I glued my wood piece onto my cutting board, I took these words that I also cut out from my Cricut and I weeded them, and then I used transfer tape to go ahead and apply them to my board. Again, this was super easy to do. This was only my second cut, so I thought for that matter, this actually came out pretty cute. One thing I really loved about this was in the Cricut, it literally told me which color to put in. So it would say cut number 1, and then it'll show me what the cut is going to be, so I could decide which one of my colors I wanted to put on. Now, I got these images from Cricut Design Space, and I really loved using these. But you do have to pay a membership fee, but I'm telling you, it was totally worth it because I already see so many different projects that I could make in the future by using that service. Again, this video is not sponsored by Cricut. I am not getting paid to do this or receiving any kind of free products. I am just sharing my experience as a newbie Cricut user, just in case you're sitting there on the fence and considering getting a Cricut. I'm telling you, it's really not as hard as people think, and I don't know why I was so intimidated, but as you can see, this part is super easy as well. So I just peeled it off, and then I just placed down all of my pieces on my board. Now I am looking at this image in the design space on my laptop, so I make sure that I place them in the right way because I'm such a visual person. I need to see what it looks like. So if you want to do that method, you can do that too. Super, super easy. After I had all my words placed down, I went ahead and hot glued my little board in the middle of my cutting board. Then I wanted to add a little bit more detail, so I took these little puffy stickers and I painted 4 of them with black acrylic paint. After they were dry, I hot glued 1 in each corner of my little wooden board. Lastly, I took some raffia and I tied it in a bow and I hot glued it to the bottom of the handle of my cutting board. I really love how this came out. I love all of the little details and the texture, and I love the fact that I got to use my Cricut one more time to make this little DIY. This really did not cost me a lot because, like I said, I got the actual cutting board from Michael's when it was on sale, so I'm so happy I got to use that as well. But I thought that this was a great decor piece. You can set it up in your kitchen or a dining area, or it does have the hanger on it still, so you could even hang it as well. So I really love how this came out, but what do you think? I am so happy with all of these DIYs and how they came out. I am so ready for fall. It is my favorite season, and it wasn't until I made these pieces that I was ready to head into the best time of the year. I hope that you got a ton of inspiration from today's video. You're going to have to let me know down in the comments which one of these is your favorite and if you'll be trying out any of these DIYs. I want to thank Liz from Liz Moore Decal and Decor for collabing with me on today's video. I really had a lot of fun creating all of these so we could bring you some great fall DIY pieces. Don't forget to check out her video. It'll be in the description box below for even more fall inspiration. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. And as always, a thumbs up is always appreciated. Well, until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!